At my age, I have learnt many lessons. One is that I had to heal from the trauma of my childhood and the parental hooks within me. And despite these unhealthy behaviors that I felt connected to and familiar to, I see my mum as my biggest hero, rest her soul. Forgive me, I've got some notes and I want to make sure I get as much across as possible. All right, okay. There are lots of memories, good and bad, of my mum, but she was my cheerleader. She really, really had my back, and I felt safe that my mum really did care about me and want the best thing for me, and all that no strings attached love that you never get again, maybe apart from a dog. I also look up to my granddad, and currently this month he's 98 years old. Now, until very, very recently, he was giving out birthday cards to every single child and grandchild, and presumably great-grandchild by now, until very recently, because he's not quite as fast and as sharp as he was a few years back. Now, don't get me wrong, you ask Grandad something about his life history, and he knows exactly what day it was. So he's got all his marbles, and he's super sharp. So that's really amazing to see. He still really enjoys a pint of Guinness or a pint of beer and a good roast dinner and meeting with the family. He does spend a lot of time moaning and groaning about his aches and pains, though. He's always moaning it's too cold, but there we go. That's part of the negative side of being 98 years old. But as I said, my granddad was one of my other biggest heroes. But my point here really is that you shouldn't put one person up on a pedestal, but just appreciate them for who they are and what they bring, and appreciate what they bring out in other people. So I ask, out of all your favorite people, what are the traits? What are the things that you like the most about them? So ask yourself, can you spend more time with those people? If not, what do you really enjoy about them or like about them? Put it another way. If someone looks up to you, what would you like them to say about you being their hero? Because remember, you don't know who considers you a hero. Just take a moment to think about that. Who might consider you a hero, and what would they say about you? And how would you emulate the traits of your heroes in your personality that somebody else might pick up on and see? So just think about, you're probably somebody's hero. So the question is, or the question I ask myself, how would I act like a hero? How would I be somebody's hero? I mean, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I am. How would I want to act? How would I want to be perceived? So one trait or one thing that came to mind was spending time with people. Just having time, with no other agenda, whether it's with somebody older or somebody younger. Giving your time is the most precious gift you have that you can give to somebody. You can spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on somebody, but actually giving them your undivided attention and just sitting down. And one way I did that actually with my granddad was to record some with his permission, record some conversations. And he really enjoyed expressing and opening up about his life. So not only have I got it for prosperity, but I've helped him feel happy and listened to. So that's an amazing big thing that I really enjoyed doing, spending time with my granddad. And likewise, spending time with young people as well, just being an ear, just being there to listen without judgment. That's one of the main reasons I really liked my granddad. Well, sorry, still like my granddad. is that he's non-judgmental. Don't get me wrong, he's got some of his own opinions and he talks about them. Not very often, though. But he's not judgmental. You could say whatever you want and he'd be like, okay, if that makes you happy, good. So that's really nice. Okay. Having a moral compass. It's not an easy thing to portray, showing people you have a moral compass, but people know, especially family over time, they get to know. You're not going to be that salesperson that would sell their grandmother for $10. You've got some ethics behind, you've got some morals behind, and you stand by them. You stand by your word for a long time until obviously maybe evidence comes to light that changes your opinion. So that's the other part, is being open-minded. If you say, oh, I got this opinion, blah, 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 and they say, well, okay, but what about this evidence and this evidence and this information? You need to be adult and mature enough to be able to say, let me think about that. Let me digest that. Let me find out more for myself. That's made me think about that. That is. I thank you for making me think about that. And then come up with your new conclusion, or come up with arguments to stick to your guns. All right, random acts of kindness. So rarely seen these days. You see them a lot on Instagram maybe, and publicized, but a lot of acts of kindness are done stealthily and quietly because in my country it's considered to be much more honourable to not look for validation or for a pat on the back for doing something good for somebody else. Okay. Disarm tension with humour and kindness. That's something my mum was quite good at. If my brother and I were fighting, she would say something sarcastic or funny, or just make us distracted completely. So disarm with kindness and with humour. Sometimes people are much more remembered for the way they stepped in and they were just funny. And I probably told you guys in the past, but I worked with teenagers that had less than perfect backgrounds. And a lot of the time, because I'm not a big bloke with a lot of presence, I'd often come in with something funny or sarcastic or joking just to take away the tension and then divert away. That can really have a powerful effect. Okay. Have a long-term positive outlook on life. Now, I know I said my granddad moans about aches and pains, but generally my granddad's a happy soul. All right, he's been married and divorced a few times, and he'd get along with his ex, at a wedding or funeral. But generally, people like to be around Grandad because he's a nice person. He's got a nice outlook on life. Not so much can be said for his ex, my grandmother. Okay. One day, you might be a granddad yourself. And imagine the legacy that you want to leave, the imprint that you want to leave on your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. You quite possibly could be the hero of your grandchildren. Just think about that for a moment. What would you want them to say about you? Now, I know, nobody wants you to die, but what would you want people to say about you as a granddad? Like the way I look at my granddad now, with a lot of reverence and respect and time. I've just got this compassion for my granddad. My granddad is 98 years old, but my mum, bless her, died, a few years back when she was, before she drew her pension at 65. But my mum and my granddad share a lot of the same qualities of being non-judgmental and listening, and just being there. And I'd like to have some of those qualities. I want people to think of me in a kind way like they do my granddad. Every time I see my granddad, I give him a big hug, and he's always asking after me, what I'm up to, what I've been doing, what about my children and things like that. And he really wants to know. So it's really reassuring and lovely feeling to go see my granddad and wanting to spend more time with him. Can you be that person? Can you project and emulate those traits that you want your grandchildren to say and to think and feel about you? Interesting. So we've always got time to learn and to change and become a better person. There was times back in the past when I'm sure I was an absolute asshole. But I've learned over time. I've mellowed, I've listened to other people's opinion, I've learned for myself. And life's short. You know, I mentioned my mum. If that's not good enough reason to be able to let go and move on of old, what was the word? When you've got grudges. That's the word, grudge. Even saying it sounds horrible, doesn't it? A grudge against them. Ugh. Letting go because life is short. That's just such a good reason to evolve as a human being, as a person. You know, there's always time to evolve and change and to adapt. All right. If you've got any thoughts or feelings about what I've said, if you're concerned or connected, let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to hear. Maybe we can have a conversation. All right. So think about how you're going to change and evolve and become somebody's hero. What are they going to say about you? You know, not necessarily your epithy, your effigy, your eulogy. But yeah, what would you want to change? What would you want people to say about you? Let me know down below in the comments. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.